Hey everybody, it's your boy Pretend JWA, the Guardian JWA, and today it's raining. And today I'm also going to talk to you guys about how I utilize rain in order to add increased fertility to my yard. So there's a lot of ways you can use rain. As you can see here, if I go right here, I have a little drain spout just above that if I wanted to, I could redirect and actually have it act as help catch rainwater in a barrel. I don't have that set up yet. There's Morty out there, the only dog I can trust out in the rain, because the other dogs, they're gonna run around, cause a stir, get all super muddy. It'll be terrible. As you can see, it is slightly windy, super cold. Holy cow, I'm shivering. But back to the topic at hand. How I currently use rainwater is to do essentially one simple thing. I use rainwater as a way to take materials I've added to the top of my mulch and have it beat it down to the surface level. So the two things I currently do, and I do this about twice a year, once with the spring showers and another time with the fall showers, because we typically get rain time around now, and then we get rain time around, I would say, it's not really fall, I guess it's late monsoon season in Arizona. And what I do is I just, in this case, the mineral is azomite. I just take some azomite powder. You can use basalt, you can use green sand, and I just spread it around the yard. So I spread that around the yard, and then I get about a 20, I'll probably spread about 15 pounds, not a super lot, right? And then I'll get a 20 to 25 pound bag of soil sulfur. And in my case, I get the bigger 50-pound bags, but I use about half of it. And they're pelletized elemental sulfur, and I just broadcast it using I have this little broadcaster that I just spin the handle on, and it just shoots it all around. Super duper easy, super nice even application. And the reason I add the minerals is obviously obvious, right? I want to add trace elements to our yard, just to I use azomite kind of like a multivitamin, just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And then I use the soil sulfur to help lower the pH of our soil. Interestingly enough, I haven't actually fact checked this. I'd be curious if people have heard this in the comments, but I've heard that places where they get under about 30 inches of rainfall a year tend to have more alkaline soils, which obviously Arizona would fit that bucket. And places where it's more tend to have more acidic soils. I don't know if you guys have heard that too, but that's definitely super interesting. So here in Arizona, at least where I'm at, we have very alkaline soil. So to drop that pH, it's usually recommended that people do an application of soil sulfur just to make it easier during those stressful moments. I previously started out not using soil sulfur, and I would say where I noticed the difference was, and there could have been other things that contributed to this, but where I noticed the difference is when I started using soil sulfur in the summers, my plants struggled less. So in those higher heat, when it was really, really hot, like talk 115, my plants tend to do better when I started applying soil sulfur. Now that's purely anecdotal, and that's obviously what a lot of people have been said is, yeah, spread some soil sulfur out. If you're in an acidic area, they say spread lime. I know I've talked to some people in the nurseries who say, well, you don't really need to do that. You can just use a pH adjuster. But I like the old school approach of just broadcasting the pellets out and then letting the rain just work it into my soil. Because I found that if I release all the pellets right before you have like a week of rain, so in this case, today's raining, 3 days from now it's going to rain, and another 2 days from then it's going to rain, you'll find all the little pellets just to get disintegrated into the ground. So I don't have to worry about drudging up my soil to work it in or anything like that, especially because I got all that grass that's kind of like solidified my mulch. So it's just a nice, easy way to add, in my mind, fertility to the garden. The reason, just to highlight, just to make sure I didn't do it, dude, it's so cold. I'm starting to, when it's cold, you stop to you're not thinking through everything. The minerals just kind of acts as a multivitamin to make sure I'm not missing anything, you know, any of those trace elements that you need just a smidgen of. And then the sulfur drops the pH. Plants can only absorb, or can more readily absorb, certain minerals and nutrients at certain pH levels. So if your pH is too high or too low, you can get like a nutrient lockout where the nutrient's available but the plant can't uptake it because it's not able to. So that's why by adding soil sulfur, it just makes it a little bit easier in our high alkaline soil for our plants to access those nutrients. And I personally, based on what I've seen in my own experimentation, you really see that in the summer here. You don't really see it in the spring. You don't really see it in the fall, definitely not in the winter, but in the summer you see it. And you might not realize it, but a lot of fertilizers you guys use, like organic fertilizers, even inorganic fertilizers, a lot of them actually have sulfur in it. So if you're buying it, if you're in Arizona, or if you're in a place with high alkaline soil, chances are the fertilizer you're buying has sulfur in it. So you might be saying, well, I never had sulfur in my soil. I'm doing perfectly fine. My soil is super alkaline. And then you look at the back of your bottle or whatever you're fertilizing with, and you'll see sulfur. So a lot of times they'll put that in the actual organic fertilizer. But because I'm using liquid like fish and kelp emulsion, you don't really see that. If you hear the sounds behind me, Dean's banging on. I locked him out of the backyard because he's like running around causing a huge mud mess. But yeah, that's how I use rainwater currently in my garden to increase my soil's fertility. I use it to work in the minerals and elemental sulfur that I broadcast to the floor of my garden. Well, thank you guys. And then, holy cow, it's so cold, especially, well, for Arizona it's cold, probably not for most of you guys. See you next time.